Okay, what I'm doing today is putting the first coat of primer on these little panels. Normally I do 12 panels. These are the panels for my little magnets. Normally I have these cut well in advance on a table saw, maybe in batches of about 50. Then I prepare batches of 12 where I go in and sand all the edges, and then put this series of primer and paint on them. So I'll do a little bit now so you see what I'm doing, and I'll show you the product that I'm using. This is called GAC 100 Acrylic Primer and Extender. It's a golden product. It's really nice. It's really smooth and really very thin actually, but it covers very well, and it's good for blocking anything out, and it's a primer. Now I put one coat on each side, but you notice as I'm painting this that I'm holding it so that I'm really painting both sides, but I'm not going to be able to paint both sides completely because I need a little bit of holding room. So I'm painting the edges of both sides and a little bit of an overlap, but I won't be able to paint the back side of that completely. It's a thin coat. A little bit goes a long way. And what's going to happen here is, in order for all of these little panels to be prepared, there has to be a coat of this on each side, and then 2 coats on each side of latex, satin, white, off-white. So it's not gloss and it's not matte, it's satin, somewhere in the middle, and it's just a really nice finish. So there'll be 2 coats on each side of that white, but what that means, well, with the sanding in between each coat as well, what that means is this part and the edge will actually get 4 coats. So that's a really nice kind of fine finish. You can see I'm not using much of this, and a little bit goes a really long way. I like spending the time crafting these things and putting in the handwork. They're delicate little treasures, and I kind of like the ritual of doing all this preparation anyways. I've always prepared my own materials, you know, papers, canvases. I've always built my own stretchers. This kind of intimate handwork is part of craftsmanship, and it's part of the care that goes into the whole thing, so I don't begrudge that part of the work. I mean, I suppose at a certain point it's a lot to do, but I still enjoy doing it. I don't want to farm it out yet. I've got a little place, drawing place set aside, so that I'm doing something like this. So when it's dry, because it's painted both on both sides a little bit, I lay it on something like that so that it's not completely flat, so it'll stick to the surface if I do that. So there's like a little nail or a little screw that I have it resting on, and I have a little board set up. So these will be ready for the second coat in about an hour. However, the acrylic paint, the latex paint, what takes these things so long to make is the drying time of the latex paint, because normally the latex paint will take, it'll be dry to touch in about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. It's not ready to be sanded, it's not cured enough until about maybe 5-6 hours. If I paint late at night, I just do it the next day. So those hours kind of add up. Like if you need it right away, you're kind of out of luck. That's why it's a really good idea to prepare a lot of these in advance, so that you're not always waiting when you need one. Because it doesn't make sense to rush these kinds of little steps, procedural steps that are necessary for a good job. So it's good just to be patient and to give things the amount of time that they need, even though no particular step may take forever. They're simple steps. It's just that there's sometimes a lot of steps. I'm sort of delicately brushing to make sure I don't get too much brush stroke in there. I make sure that I do that, a little bit of feather brushing on the edge so that I'm not getting any accumulation of the material, the acrylic, right on the edge. Having to reach there a bit. Okay, so I do these in batches of 12, and it doesn't take long to do the whole bunch. It might take half an hour to do the whole thing. But I think you get the idea of what I'm doing here, so I'm going to stop pretty soon. Using too much of this material is actually not good. Like, don't overdo it. But I do recommend this. I'm going to show you the bottle in a minute so you know what I'm using. It's good for if you're painting on masonite panels. Masonite panels are actually sealed quite well these days, and there's, you know, they're not leaking material through them anymore. They used to at one point. You used to have to seal them a lot more than you do now. So just gesso on an acrylic panel is probably archivally okay. It's not going to stain through there. But putting something like this acrylic primer and extender and sealer really on an acrylic panel or on a wood panel, any kind of a plywood panel, would be a good idea, especially on plywood panels. Plywood panels will you know, the resins, the saps in the wood can bleed through the paint over time, and something like this will prevent anything coming through. I'm just going to stop this and show you the bottle. Get over there. Okay, we'll set that aside for a minute. This is GAC 100 Golden acrylic primer and extender. The 16-ounce bottle. I wish they'd make them bigger, but I guess this will last me a good long while. And this is a nice container here. It just seals up so there's no wastage, and this will take me a good long time to use up. So that's how I do that part.